Hey everyone, and we finally have some reliable news and a real report for Nintendo's next console, which for the sake of this video I'll be calling the Nintendo Switch 2, and I'm ever more confident that it will be a Switch 2 rather than a brand new piece of hardware. So let's get right into it and talk about the report.
Lockhart QT.
So, before we get into the juicy bits of info, I feel like it's important to cover up a few things first. Firstly, the reason people are placing their trust into this report is that it's coming from multiple different websites that are known for being super reliable and having actual creditable sources. The sites in question are Video Game Chronicle, which first broke the news, Eurogamer, and many more. All will be linked in the description below. And once we get closer and closer to this new system, obviously I'll be covering it on the channel, so if you're excited for Nintendo's newest piece of hardware, feel free to share this video and subscribe. And according to these reports and multiple people with knowledge of Nintendo's next generation console plans, it seems like Nintendo is likely to release new hardware during the second half of 2024. This will be released in 2024 to ensure that more stock is available day one and to avoid shortages like seen with the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. If you guys remember in 2020 there was massive shortages, nobody could get their hands on any of these consoles. And although Nintendo themselves have been rather quiet on specific details for a Switch 2, Nintendo's next piece of hardware could be able to be both portable as well as docked, similar to the Nintendo Switch. This to me makes the most sense, as Nintendo has always been known for having a portable system and then a home console side by side at the same time. With the Switch though, it's a hybrid device. This sort of bridged the two markets between handheld and main home console together, allowing Nintendo to focus all efforts on one singular console, thus making more money and being able to focus all games on one system. So it makes sense that Nintendo would make another hybrid. Video Game Chronicle's contacts also suggested that the console could launch with an LCD screen instead of the more premium OLED model. Now, I've seen people up in arms about this personally. I mostly use my Switch in docked mode, so I'm not really too affected by this, but I imagine that Nintendo would only do this to bring down costs, especially considering the increased storage needed for higher fidelity games and models. As we all know that Nintendo actually like to lower their console asking prices to allow more people and younger fans to buy their consoles. For example, the current Switch model launched at just 32GB of internal memory, whilst the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles launched with 500GB, but Nintendo could also allow for external storage solutions such as SD cards, which are cheap enough to buy on something like Amazon, and actual sort of external hard drives, but we'll have to wait and see. Like its predecessor, the new Nintendo console will also accept physical games via a cartridge slot, their sources said. Other details such as backwards compatibility support for Switch games, physical and digital, remains unclear as of writing this. Now for me, the console has to have backwards compatibility of some kind. Xbox have been doing this with the last few of the consoles and it's worked really well in my opinion. For example, my Xbox Series X has essentially turned into my Sonic machine. I can play pretty much every Sonic game on there imaginable and I'm loving it. So some kind of backwards compatibility for me for the new console will be brilliant, especially if it's cartridge based. It will be needed in my opinion. I'd love to keep playing games such as Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Smash Ultimate and many more on the next system as well as my Switch. And if they can somehow figure out cloud save data, as in transferring from one console to another, that would be great as well. According to the report, Nintendo has also said it wants to convert as many of the Switch's 100 million fans and users as possible to its next system, although some third-party publishers have said they've basically expressed concerns that legacy support and backwards compatibility for Switch games could negatively affect sales of next-gen titles, but personally, I don't think this is true at all. I think that more people would buy a Switch sequel or a Switch 2 or whatever the next hardware is going to be called if it can play past Nintendo titles physically as well as digitally. Plus, it gives people who missed out on those generations and games and people who potentially missed out on the Switch means to play older titles they missed. We've also had loads of reports from hardware manufacturers who actually work for Nintendo, as well as Mercury Steam, the developers behind Metroid Dread. Apparently they actually have a developer's kit and a sort of developer's version of the next hardware ready to develop a new title. But hardware manufacturers already working for Nintendo are already claiming that in 2024 they will see big profits in 2024 due to hardware sales. Basically they have investor meetings and they have to tell investors basically what their profits are going to be like. And if all of these hardware manufacturers are saying that in 2024 they're going to see massive boosts in sales of hardware, and they're really only focused on Nintendo hardware, the two add up. It kind of makes more sense that a Nintendo system is coming at the end of 2024. And with the Switch now at the end of its life cycle, there's no way that they mean the OG Switch. It has to mean new Nintendo hardware. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching, and tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think? Are you concerned about it not having a OLED screen rather than any LCD screen? Are you concerned about how it will launch? Are you concerned about backwards compatibility? And what do you think about the report itself, as well as the hardware manufacturers also basically claiming that in 2024 a new Switch console is launching? Thank you so much for watching, and for more Nintendo content, don't forget to stay subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.